has background noise. Hey, oh, hey, yeah. Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Welcome to yet another episode of Mind and Money Matters live show, coming to you live from Master of the Science of Business, representing the Ministry of Trade and Commerce. And we are operating in the month of July, representing, or I guess we are theming, uh, um, featuring is the right word, the Ministry of Education. And we are excited to bring to you some experienced minds in the world of education, going from nursery school all the way up to doctoral programs and beyond. So, yes, we are going to review the business of education. And we are prayerful that you who are out there who are interested in starting a business in education or in any capacity of education, whether it's being a vendor to educators or educational institutions or setting up a educational institution. We are excited to bring to you information. We come to you with this information knowing that from the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that we are never to be taught the science of business or the science of warfare, is what he states in Message to the Black Man, and the science of birth control. And Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us that the science of warfare is business, and we know that birth control includes the science of mating. So we have no wonders why we have deficits in these areas, and it is our effort and intent to remove those deficits and give us the sciences that we need to take our adventures to the next level. We start off with our dear brother, Brother Jaheed, Mr. Communicator Muhammad. He is our very own, soul named by Sister Sandy Buford Muhammad of Soul Wisdom International, our very own logo file. That's right, he is a lover of words. So if you get your pen and pad or electronic devices, however you record information ready, so that you can record the vocabulary or the current trends out on the Fala Worldwide Word on the Block. You can get that information in. We're going to bring in our dear brother, Brother Jaheed, Mr. Communicator Muhammad. He is the founder and CEO of Fala Worldwide Seminars and Training and Proper Propaganda Promotions. Brother Jaheed.
Assalamu alaikum, business scientists. Welcome back to another episode of the definitive podcast for Black business bodaciousness. And as Sister Shireen mentioned, this month, the month of July, we are featuring the Ministry of Education. The ministries that we feature on each and every show since we started doing this podcast are those that you can search online for the 9 ministries. They are the ministries that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan advanced to the world in October of 2005 at the um, 15th year anniversary. Is that 15? 10th year,
10th
10th
year.
year anniversary of the Million Man March. At the 10th year anniversary of the Million Man March, the Millions More movement, where he gave to the world the 9 ministries, and that's for us as a community, as a nation, to use to build a government on our shoulders, a government of our own on our shoulders. So we encourage each and every one of you that are listening to this podcast to join one of the ministries. It's for all of us, not just the registered members of the Nation of Islam or the supporters, definitely supporters, but all of you have talents that we need in order to sustain our own nation. So what you can do, you can at your local uh, mosque or study group in your city, and there is one in your city or one that's very close by that's under the divine leadership of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, you can check in and sign up for one or more of the 9 ministries. If you are here in Atlanta and you would like to be a participant in one of the 9 ministries, you can just, for the example, the Ministry of Trade and Commerce, you can contact us at Master the Science of Business. We happen to be the points of contact for the Ministry of Trade and Commerce, and we're definitely looking forward to working with you with your expertise in the field of building businesses, so that we can build a viable nation. But you can reach us at 404 And if you would like contact information on any of the other 9 ministries, the Ministry of Law, the Ministry of Science and Technology, the Ministry of Agriculture, the Ministry of Education, we have our point of contact here with us tonight. The Ministry of Health and Human Services, the Task Force on Finance, the Ministry of Information, the Ministry of Spirituality, which is actually the 10th ministry. We would like information, Ministry of Arts and Culture. Um, what am I missing?
Did you do the
Ministry of
Ministry
Defense.
of Defense? Yes.
Ministry of Defense. Yes, yes.
Yes.
So if you are interested in being a participant in any of these ministries and you don't know exactly how to contact, just give us a call and we will help point you in the right direction, because we definitely need all of the expertise of the original family involved in this. So as we move right along with this dynamic show, definitely get your pens and paper, because you may not hear the word coming out of me, but our guests and my illustrious guest, illustrious co-host and guest co-host, they can come up with some words. So it may not necessarily come from me,
But
because
we
all
have
of
a
them,
professor on the line, so we we
but
can make
all
up words for
everybody on here is very erudite and loquacious. So you will learn, you will get a lot out of tonight's episode. So, but make sure before we do anything, you must get your latest issue of the Final Call newspaper. This is volume 38, number 40, dated July the 9th. This is the latest issue. Justice delayed, justice denied in forgotten Flint water crisis. You all remember that, right? When there was the big thing about the excessive amount of lead in the water in Flint, and come to find out that's also in a lot of other cities around the country, but Flint is just ridiculous. But you know, if it's not in the forefront of the news, or what we call mainstream news, um, fortunately, papers like the newspaper, which is an award-winning newspaper. Again, kudos, congratulations goes out to Brother Richard Muhammad, the editor-in-chief of the Final Call newspaper, and his dynamic staff, writers that's on the staff, and all those that help put this wonderful paper together with the content that is absolutely fabulous and phenomenal and needed and informative. Sister Charlene Muhammad on her award for the best news article of the year from the National Newspaper Publishers Association, uh, and all those, as I said, that's involved. But you must get your copy. You can come to Muhammad Mosque number 15 if you're here in Atlanta at 3642 Camilton Road and get your current issues of the Final Call newspaper. You can go to Cafe Ulu on Sylvan Road, 2036 Sylvan Road in Southwest Atlanta. Pick up your copy. If you're in Lithonia, the east side of Atlanta, you can stop at Black Dot Cultural Center and Bookstore and pick up your copy. It's right there on Main Street, 2 doors down from City Hall. And also, if you're on the south side of Atlanta in Clayton County at the intersection of 138 and Georgia 85, you can pick up your copy from the Clayton County Study Group and a plethora of other places around the city, metropolitan area of Atlanta, or whatever city that you're watching us from. There are a number of brothers and sisters, FOI and MGT, who willingly and readily have this dynamic paper available for you to peruse and to discuss, for to keep up with what's going on in the community. So that's fine. And also you can go to finalcalldigital.com and subscribe. Finalcalldigital.com and subscribe to your latest issue, to your final call, so you can get it in your inbox via, there you go, right up to modern times, and get it in on your tablet, on your cell phone, on your computer. In addition to if you want the physical copy of the Final Call newspaper, and we also this is the first week completed the first week of the month. So in the second week of the month of July, you know what that means? Economicblueprint.org. 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 5 cents a day. 5 cents a day. 35 cents a week. $1.40 a month. From 16 million of us as wage earners, that would give us 291,200,000 a year in the coffers so that we can buy land, buy land, buy land, buy land, and other resources that we need as a viable nation, as a viable, sustainable nation. So, for those of you out there that say, well, nobody's doing anything, or those who are around people that say, well, nobody's doing anything, that's not true. There are a lot of people doing a lot of things. You and I just have to be in the activity, in the motion of doing things, and then we are introduced to those that are doing things. So, and we are striving to be one of those circles that if you whatever it is that you're looking to do, we're doing it, or we know somebody that is doing it. So please stop saying nobody is doing whatever it is you think nobody is doing, because somebody is doing whatever you think nobody is doing. Somebody is doing it. And there's a lot of somebody's doing it. You just have not been introduced to them yet. So, economicblueprint.org, go ahead on and make your contribution, your 5 cents a day contribution for your and your family's liberation as a viable, sustainable nation. So there's a lot of activities coming down the pike. Just give you those of you who are watching and you're in the Atlanta metropolitan area, or you plan on coming to Atlanta this month, we have Brother Ilya Rashad Muhammad from the Nation of Islam Research Department. He will be in Atlanta on the 21st of July. So you definitely want to put that on your calendar to come and dynamic researcher, dynamic presenter, and he's going to be presenting on that topic that nobody likes to talk about. You know what you all call UFOs, but we have information that you definitely want to hear, firsthand information about the what you all call UFOs, but the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us what they were almost 90 years ago, over 89 years ago. He told us exactly what they are and who they are and what they're here to do. So Ilya, brother student minister Ilya Rashad Muhammad. And then on the 26th through the 28th of July, here in Atlanta, the Southern Regional Headquarters of the Nation of Islam, under the divine guidance of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, we have the Student National Spokesperson of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Student Minister Dr. Ava Muhammad. Oh, that's right. For those of you who may not be aware, you just heard what I just said, right? She is the Student National Spokesperson. She, she, a woman that's the Student National Spokesperson for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan will be in Atlanta for the separation town hall meeting. That one you do not want to miss. Definitely, especially for those of you all who are not ready to separate from your open enemy, you want to come out to hear this so we can share some information with you to let you give you some background of why you want to get away, get out, as Jordan Peele movie said, why you want to get out. So those are a few things. I've gone way over my allotted time that Sister Sandy gave me. So I'm going to be quiet and bring her up. This is the Falah Worldwide Word on the Street, but just stay tuned, stay plugged in. Remember to listen to this podcast, like it if you like it, comment on it, share it, and subscribe. That and hit the little bell, as I hear all these other folk on the podcast saying, hit the little bell so you know when we're coming up, and then help us help spread the word, about these brilliant and dynamic minds we're able to bring on to the podcast. So, without any further delay, I'm honored to present the ergokinesiologist, the part Jamaican, part Chinese, uh, part original man.
Oh, God,
He,
you
he,
never ceases
he
to
has,
amaze me, Brother Jahi.
he has like 55 businesses and handling them all proficiently. So if anybody looking for a job, I'm sure Sister Sandy has a job for you with the number of enterprising, one of the most enterprising people among us with your wisdom, your life center and soul wisdom international, Sister Sandy Buford Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, Brother Jahi, Sister Shireen, Sister Samia, and our beloved brother Dr. Washington is going to be on the show with us. As I always say, what's up, Hotep, Namaste, and all of that good stuff. Oh, wow. Oh, Brother Jahi, before I get into my little segment, have you started back up your final call conversations? Have you started that back up yet?
We took a hiatus, but we will be
Okay.
getting started on the 18th. That
18th of July.
18th of, yeah, 18th
Yeah,
of
that
July.
was that's a popular show. Y'all need to make sure y'all check that out. But I'm
Yeah,
sure Brother
thank
Jahi
you,
is gonna
thank
be
you for that. Yes,
updating us.
it's called
Yes,
This Week in the Final Call newspaper podcast with
yes.
Brother Rashad Sharif Muhammad, Professor Griff, Brother Kadeem, Brother Abdul Rab Muhammad, Sister Kabah, and a host of other people. Sister Shireen has come through a few times. A bunch of us. My brother um, uh, Tutmos, Brother Tutmos, from the African Community Centers. He comes through, and just people in the community. Just we read the Final Call newspaper and we discuss it. That's simple as that for an hour. Simple as that. So next week. I'll let you know where we will be, where we plan on being. So anybody want to come out and join us for the discussion, you're very welcome to. We only do 1 hour. Only do 1 hour. So read fast and talk fast.
Awesome. Okay. I mean, cause that's exciting. I sometimes listen in on Brother Jahi's them discussion, and I'm telling you, profound. You talk about some smart brothers and sisters talking about what's happening in our environment. Wow, it's really, really exciting. So make sure you all stay tuned to Mind Money Matters Radio to keep updated, our podcast to keep updated on what's going on in that neck of the woods. So I'm really excited, Sister Shireen, you all, because the workshop for next year is coming together so beautifully. Which reminds me, I need to make sure I send out your invite. We opened up these first 7 days with invitation only. So I need to make sure I send you yours, Sister Shireen and Sister Samia, and to invite you all to come on board. I know Sister Shireen's going to be there doing her piece, third eye mind mapping, visionary boarding with the sisters there. I'm so, so, so excited. Also, let me share with you all that there's a lot that's been happening. I always like to give insight from the Brother Jahi say the spiritual, but that's kind of like I don't know if I want to quite say it from that perspective, but the energy that's present, that's happening in our nation, in the United States, in the world, galactically. As our brother will be sharing with us of what we call UFOs, there are some interesting things that are happening. If you have not noticed in your life the shift that's happening, maybe your head's been in the sand. However, there's a lot of shifting that's going on, a lot of challenges that many of us, specifically our people, are experiencing. And I say that it's really just a wake-up call. So I say, get on the prayer rugs, do your meditation, center yourself, because there is a vibrational frequency that's like a tsunami that's coming through. And we have to be grounded as that is happening to us, knowing who we are, knowing what we stand for, knowing who we represent, and staying firm with that. So that's pretty much what I want to just share from my neck of the woods. Stay tuned next week. The public web page will be unveiled, so Sister Shireen will have that to pull up on the screen to share with everyone. We only have 40 spaces available, so whatever we have left, when it goes public, that's what we have left, y'all. So stay tuned for the next one if you don't make this one, okay? If you have any questions, please reach out to me at 770-906-6193. 770-906-6193. Publicly, you'll be able to go to Soul Wisdom INTL Facebook page as of next week, Monday. So I want to bring up our beloved Sister Shireen, beautiful Sister Shireen, crisscrossing the country, letting the whole wide world know the phenomenal things that she is doing with our babies, with encouraging them to read, encouraging them to be to learn more about agriculture, to learn more about farming, to learn more about loving one another, us as people, networking, combining resources. That's what this project is all about, that we bring to you on Mind Money Matters Radio. And it's about everything that we do. Brother Jahi jokingly say I have like 15 businesses. I necessarily don't have 15 businesses, but I have like 15 different partnerships that I'm a part of. And it is key. Partnerships are key. Linking up with like-minded people who have the same desire, going in the same direction, same like mind, same like values, heading in the direction. So that is what we do. We partnership. If it's an idea that I have and I meet a sister who's interested in the same thing, I go, okay, like Sister Shireen say, there I got zillion McDonald's and Burger King, them yellow arches, as Brother Griff say, those arches, killer burgers on every other corner, and they don't fight each other. They don't fight each other. Say, you taking my territory like we be doing. Y'all know what I'm talking about in our neighborhood. They don't do that. They'll combine forces. They'll go and open up another one in another country. That's how they roll. They have one on every other corner here and then combine their forces to go and take over another country. That's how we've got to be thinking about when it comes to business, because business is warfare. Right, Sister Shireen?
Without question.
And that's what she's teaching our babies from the cradle, with encouraging them to learn about farming, because what we put in our mouths is so necessary for us to understand what we're eating, what we're putting in our mouth. And when she's teaching our babies from that perspective, we got it covered. We got it covered. But if they're not interested in learning about farming, if they're not interested in learning about nutrition and what it takes to live a healthy life, then we've lost ourselves, because they're going to be feeding us as we get older. So we are so grateful for this task that she has taken upon herself. And I didn't never ask her what inspired her. So I'm going to ask her to share with us what inspired her to truly go with our babies and teaching them about food and health and partnership. What inspires you, Sister Shireen, as we bring her on, who's the mind behind all of this, holding us all together? She is the glue, our beloved Sister Shireen Muhammad.
Hi, salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Woo, what inspired me? Oh my goodness, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. What inspired me? Well, it started with a direct instruction I believe I received from Allah. After prayer, I was working on writing a book on dealing with my headpiece and why I wear it. And after having a conversation with some Christian sisters at a Stop the Girl Bullying tour, this was in 2009, all the way back in 2009. So I had inspired to be a writer and a person who inspires. And as I was writing this book, after prayer one morning, I heard in my head, focus on the children. And so I thought, well, focus on the children. I've been focusing on the children. I'm having this conversation with Allah. Like, I thought I was focusing on the children. So, focus on the children. Okay. I've been working with young people since really professionally as a counselor since 1997. That's when I got my master's in applied psychology for school counseling. And so from there, the conversation back and forth with Allah, like who am I to question him, right? But I was like, I thought I was focusing on the children. No, focus on the children. So
Yes, ma'am.
this is how the first book came about. As I'm trying to understand what I'm being asked to do, is why I wear my headpiece, is coming from the voice of a child who has all these questions, because I had all these questions. And so I just reflected on questions that children ask, and it's amazing to me now because I have grandchildren now, which I did not have at that time. And the 7-year-old asks questions like that, like, well, why do you cover your hair? Well, why do you wear that on your head? So now she's modeling through the house with a scarf on her head, um, mimicking what she sees from her grandmother. So all praise.
Praise be to Allah.
Yeah, so there, so what motivates me to go in the direction that I go in, one, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, after he went on his tour and talking about majoring in the minors, and how our youth going to school or majoring and going to colleges and majoring in minor things, going to agricultural schools and not majoring in agriculture, and how each and every one of us have to eat, and we eat daily. Some of us eat 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day in the name of this is how I'm gonna lose some weight. Let me just eat like 10 times a day. Like, how ridiculous is that? But anyway, of course, our teachers is to eat one meal a day. Um, However, we are not producing our own foods. And our Minister Louis Farrakhan went around to the Caribbean and spoke to the residents there, and telling them about the richness of their land, and asking why is it that all of your food is being imported, and then sicknesses that we once did not have, now we have, working with young people, and seeing how so many of them are having to go to the clinic in the school for insulin shots, or hypertension or blood pressure medicine, or mood swings, or whatever. I mean, just all kinds of things. Our mental health is on the decline severely, and most of this is tied to our eating habits, the things that we are eating, not feeding us the nutrition that we need. So I figured that this must be what Allah wants me to focus on. And it's a good thing that you asked me this question, because it's interesting. I was feeling like, oh my God, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, just feeling tired. So
Yes,
now I feel
ma'am.
motivated. Like, okay, I am under divine instruction. I have to get this done. So that's really the motivation, Sister Sandy, is seeing our children in need, seeing that they don't have a clue. I don't know if you ever went to the grocery store and bought vegetables, and the person at the cash register doesn't even know the name of
That's
it.
right. Yes, ma'am.
They don't know what the Brussels sprout from an asparagus, from a head of cabbage, which is ridiculous.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
to inspire the young people to get back into the earth, because when they get excited about something, they make sure that their children join forces. So, without further
Beautiful.
ado, that makes me think of our dear Sister Samia, who is
Yes.
actually working with
Yes, yes.
young people, and she knows firsthand. See, I deal with adolescents, from the ages of 14 to around 21, up to 21, depending on, where they are in their learning. But Sister Samir has the babies, and she has, of course, reared children, and they're way over that now. We have talked about that on this show, the success that she has had with
Yes.
with having 6 of her sons, all of them, to go through Morehouse and graduate Morehouse College. And so I believe she still holds that record as being the only mother to, or the only family, her and her husband, who is now deceased, may Allah be pleased with him, but they both put their sons through Morehouse College, and they graduated, each and every one of them. So that is a record that she holds.
Yes.
For her day to with the Baby Muhammad University of Islam. Let's welcome our dear sister Samia Muhammad.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Okay, I left y'all with a cliffhanger last week.
Did you?
Something. So I'm going to finish that. So we'll start.
Oh yeah. She was quoting to us last week. She was ministering to us. She was like, I gotta find it.
Okay, so this was a quote from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad that Minister Farrakhan is in the middle of a press conference, and he just drops this out here. And I had to play the tape back. I said, wait, what did he just say? So anyway, I wanted to finish it because when I looked up the definition of what a formula it was, it really blew me away. So if y'all just bear with me a second. So it's called, so the minister's teaching, he says, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad once said to me, brother, the first scientist speaks in formulae. The second scientist has to break down the formula in paragraphs and give the message. The first scientist is God himself. He don't use a lot of words. He speaks in formula, which is a mathematical expression of symbols that you have to study and deepen your understanding. And then you can express what is hidden behind the symbols. Okay, that blew my mind right there. So then I said, well, really I was trying to figure out how to spell formula, to be honest. So I plugged it into the dictionary on my phone, and I was shocked when they came up with the definitions. I'm expecting the first definition to deal with math. Well, it didn't. The first definition says definition of formulae is a noun, it's a plural of formulas. It says, number one, a set form of words as for stating or declaring something definitely or authoritatively, for indicating procedure to be followed, or for prescribed use on some ceremonial occasion. I'm like, what? Okay, then it says, or conventional method of doing something. And then it broke the third one was mathematics, a rule or principle frequently expressed in algebraic symbols, be a symbolic expression. Then it goes on to break it down chemistry. But to say a set form of words to declare something definitely or authoritatively, that is what we are taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Honorable Mr. Farrakhan in the Nation of Islam. Everything is given in a definitive way, and then you have to follow that authority. So I just thought that was so wonderful. And the fact that he dropped it out in the middle of the press conference was like, wow, why? Okay, so I wanted to share that with everybody because that's part of where we have to go. We have to understand that what we have is so far superior to what we think that education is, because it really gives you a map to follow into being properly educated. Okay.
That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful, Sister Samia. Thank you so much for finding that and sharing that with us.
What is that? Right. So then the other thing was, as educators, you're talking about mind and money matters and business and the business of education. And I personally, in talking and dealing with children, dealing with their parents, dealing with old children who are about to go to college and those who have been in college on own, especially, I think that the business of education has ruined education. And I say that because I have sons who, like you said, all went through Morehouse. Now, many of them took similar courses. So they all took math. But every semester, they had to purchase a new math textbook in that particular version, which costs $150 to $300. Excuse me, no ink and paper costs that much.
That's right.
So we have to start to question, why are they charging this kind of money of students to, and then when you're finished with it and you give it back, they give you $35. But you spend $300 for this book. won't let you pass the book down to your sibling because they're telling you got to have the other version. So we have to really question, what is this business of education about? Is it truly about educating, or is it just about making money? And I'm finding that many our students come out very discouraged. They're in debt, and they're running around looking for a job because nobody told them that the base of education is for you to do something for self and kind, you know? So those are some of the points that we really need to begin to explore and turn our people back around to what education is. Because if you come out of a school and you spent all this money, and then you're going, okay, what can I do with this? Then it was truly a waste of time. So we don't want our people to keep falling into this kind of trap, because that's what it has become. Because those who are in the true business, meaning those who are concerned about really giving a child a proper education, are throwing up their hands and walking away. Because what we know to be education is not what's being taught. What is being meted out in institutions is, have this child pass this test. Okay, if any test that you take, if you sit and learn the formula, the way the test is structured, and which questions you can, and then usually you get a choice of what question you want to answer and don't answer. And if you could just figure that out, then you could pass the test. But you walk away. Did you really learn chemistry? Did you really master mathematics? Can you use what you supposedly learned for yourself? Right. So our view, especially at universities throughout America, is to give the children an education that they can master the knowledge and then use it. Because they can't use it, and what are we giving it to them for? You know,
that's right.
Can they think that, like my uncle, you can't even fight your way out of a wet paper bag because we can't think. So what we have to begin to do as parents and as educators is to teach our children, number one, to think. So you got to keep asking them questions. Well, my students will come to me, well, I don't know how to do this. I said, well, I taught you how to do this. Why don't you know how to do it? Well, I said, okay, think about what I taught you. Now, what did you learn that this is for? And then I just keep questioning them until they answer their own. They figure that it's in there, but they have somehow, if it's not instant nowadays, if you can't pop it in the microwave and come back out with it, I don't want to take it. That's part of the problem. Anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to run on.
Oh, no,
Sister
no,
Samia.
that was right on.
Oh my God, yes.
That was right. You know, I'm over here levitating because when you gave the definition for formulae, and I had never heard the quote before until you started it last week, but you're saying it now, and you got the word definitive in it, and that's the tagline that I came up with.
Yes.
For the definitive podcast for Black business audaciousness, and did not know the correlation. I guess I didn't intrinsically. I knew it, but on the surface, I didn't know it. Wow, that is absolutely fantastic. And you know, and we're about to bring up Dr. Kevin Washington, who has been in the college arena as a professor for a long time, for about 100 years now, I think. And
you Asian him, brother John. He gonna get you for that.
I gotta throw the little jab at him before he comes up with these big words. But on the academic side, on the college side, for a long time, so I definitely want to get his perspective. But you know, that book thing. Let me share this real quick. A friend of mine shared with me. I think I talked to Sister Shireen about this, but a friend of mine shared with me. He had a colleague that was doing phenomenal work with youth and math, with children in math. He was going to a school that would, they said the test scores were down or whatever. He was working with the children, and these are black children. And with the techniques that he was showing them, the scores went up astronomically. So you would think that he would be in big demand, right?
Nope.
He would be that, they would just knock it down the doors. What are you doing? What are you doing? As you say, Sister Samia, absolutely the opposite happened. Unfortunately, this brother well, passed. And
Mm.
a friend of mine was having a conversation with his family, and he was asking them, certain things that came out about all the opposition. Why was he getting all this opposition? Do you know where the root of the opposition was coming from? Going into the schools or into school systems to teach these formulas to children. Who do you think that? Because she asked my friend,
Mhm.
who do you think the opposition was coming from? So he was telling me about it, and I said, administration.
Mhm.
And administration was that buffer, but there was somebody behind administration. Who was that? Who do you
Mm.
think it was?
Those who were over the school system.
Okay, that's one answer. Who
Maybe
else?
the parents themselves.
The parents. Okay, it was the publishing companies.
Ah,
It
Right.
was
Yeah, that makes
I
sense.
can totally see that.
I can see that.
the
because
textbook.
he's messed up their
Absolutely,
profit, because if he could really
absolutely,
teach them, they don't have to keep buying books.
absolutely,
Business is
absolutely.
Right.
warfare. Business is warfare. We keep saying it. We keep saying it. Y'all don't want to believe us. Business is
Right.
It is.
warfare.
It is.
Well, I
Yeah.
think I think we believe that. I think it's important to
Break it
I'm
up.
talking about our listeners, Sister Shereen.
right. I understand, but I think it's important to help us recognize what that looks like. You know,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
with Brother Jahi, the
Absolutely.
point that Brother Jahi is bringing up about the textbooks. When as soon as we heard it, we're like, "Oh yes," But when we were asked to guess, who could it be? The administrators? Is it the teachers?
Can you hear me?
Is it the superintendent? Is it? Oh, it's the publishing company. Oh, you see, so
Yeah,
that just helping us to recognize
yeah.
where it's coming from.
Yes,
Absolutely.
ma'am.
And that's the warfare part, Sister Sandy, that we
Y'all are
don't
not coming through clear.
we don't see. Can you hear me?
Y'all are not coming through clear.
How
You
about
don't
now?
you
Can
don't
you
hear
hear us
us?
now? Can you hear us now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. What I was saying is,
Yeah, it was breaking up.
we have to probably define the word warfare. We say it,
Mm,
but have we actually looked at what is warfare? What are the elements of warfare? So we'll know what we're looking at, and that we'll truly understand that we are at war, that we are being attacked, that we are the resources are being pillaged from us. So those are the things that help make it clear as to what's going on. So we're highlighting the Ministry of Education this month, and from the Nine Ministries website on noi.org, the Ministry of Education is responsible for the mental and moral development of the members of the society by means of formal instruction in a prescribed manner over a prescribed period of time in a system of learning ranging from preschool through primary through advanced academic levels, culminating in the conferring of academic degrees under the direction of a National Board of Education. In addition to academic instruction, students shall receive teaching and training in the way of righteous conduct, decency, and self respect with the goal of making a better nation of people. That
Right.
is the purpose of the Ministry of Education. That's an awesome responsibility.
Yeah. Yes, it
It's
is.
in every sense of the word off. Wow, like wow. So my applause go to all of you who dedicate your time to shaping the minds, dedicating that to seeing, molding, and shaping. And as this says, what you never hear in regular, in let's say regular, in mainstream types of educational settings, the moral development of the members.
Right.
That's rarely talked about, maintaining morality. So I want to give that perspective before, as I bring up my brother who's been a guest on Mind and Money Matters live show before, one of the smartest human beings I know. When I first met him I think it was about 19 years ago, we used to serve on committee together at Rusk College for a conference called the National African American Student Leadership Conference. And at the time, I think he was in San Francisco, I believe, teaching at a school out there, I think in California. And then every 6 months, as we would, or whenever we got back together for the conference, it was always the Martin Luther King weekend, Martin Luther King holiday weekend in January that we will hold this particular conference. And almost every other year, he's at a crisscrossing the country. He's like, no, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida now, or no, I'm in Georgia now, or oh, I'm in DC now. But in all of his traveling, he's studying. He is a graduate of Grambling State University, bachelor's in psychology. Then he went on to get his advanced degrees. From Texas A&M, a master's and a PhD in educational psychology. He went on to Howard University, where he worked in the department with my good friend there, the former dean of the School of Education at Howard University, Dr. Leslie Fenwick. And just recently, I'm online on one of the social media platforms, and I didn't see anything about Howard on there. I'm looking at another school in Louisiana. So come to find out, because he owed Grambling State so much money in student loans, they made him come back and teach. So he's back at Grambling as the head of the psychology and sociology department at Grambling State University, a world traveler, one who studies indigenous spirituality systems across the world. So he has a great insight into the spirituality of the original people, as well as combining that for healing modalities. So I think about him a lot, Sister Sandy, as I hear you talking and the things that you're doing, because you all have a lot of things in common, especially the healing of the mind and helping people overcome those traumatic situations that they have incurred in life. So please welcome back to Mind and Money Matters live show, one of the smartest human beings on the planet, Dr. Kevin Washington. I would like to say that like Eddie Murphy said it back in the movie Raw. He was talking about Washington, Dr. Kevin Washington. Is he there? Is he with us?
Hold on.
Look, it says he joined us.
Yeah, he had his phone on mute.
Is it on mute still?
No, we hear you loud and clear. We just can't see you.
There you go.
All right.
Dr. Washington.
Assalamu alaikum.
Welcome back. You know, I wanted to get right into the business of education, you know, because Sister Samir, she opened it up. She talked about the business of education. And that it is the business of education that has ruined or destroyed education. In terms of its focus being on the money. So as an educator who looks forward to getting paid, you know, like there's a way that we have to balance that, right? Because no one wants to work and then can't pay their bills and can't eat and, you know, can't wear the comfortable shoes or whatever. But then at the same time, we don't want to be greedy and now to sacrifice the children and what education's purpose is to just get that dollar.
Well, you work to distract me from the assault that was laid upon me by Jahi effectively. That was very eloquent. I want to jump right into
He said, but I'm not distracted. I'm a professor. I put a pin in it.
I just want you to know.
Doc, that's called teamwork. That's called teamwork, brother.
That was smooth with a V.
That's how my son Kashi calls it, smooth.
That's what it is, smooth. So I just want to be clear about a few things. That one of them is that 100 years my parents met at Grambling State University.
I knew you was going to clear that up.
And calculate. If you calculate that time, then indeed all of my life has been spent at this institution, engaged in the process of elevation of consciousness, thought, and morality.
That's
and
right.
So I just wanted to be clear about that process.
Yes,
yeah.
He gonna leave that out there like I'm paying off my debt.
Right, paying off some debt. It is paying forward, sideways, backward. Understanding that this is an institution that was founded by Booker T. Washington, who sent Charles P. Adams to a rural place in Louisiana to facilitate the learning and growth of African people in this space. And so the narrative is rarely even told about how this institution started.
Never heard that, Doctor. Never heard that before. Wow.
Because we don't tell our story. That's the issue.
Sir.
We don't tell our story. We let the other people tell the story. So all we get about it is HBCUs closing down and so forth and so on, but we missed out on the foundation of how our institution even started. And so at the beginning of our institution, it was not about the money, but I think we had a clear consciousness around the idea of what education really was. So the Latin word educe means to bring out that which is already within.
That's
and so educere means to bring it out.
That's right.
And so the reality then is the authentic word, and I love how the sister was breaking down. I feel kind of odd too, because I don't, I'm a guest, and you got Samia and so Sandy and you know what I'm saying, Shireen, and I'm I got to come up with an S name so I can fit in with the whole organization. But the idea is that when we understand that education was initially constructed around the notion of bringing out the God consciousness within individuals, so that as you became educated, you became one with God, or the idea of understanding my God concept. Who am I in this space? So education then was really about connecting one with their divinity. And so when you end up with the European imposition of education, then you end up with a bastardized form of, because their concept and consciousness is so reduced down to simply making things monetary. So they can't conceptualize the idea that education is for the purpose of elevation. For them, it's simply a moment to begin to gain some resources, to get more resources. So life for them is about materialism. So when you said earlier, sister, you said buying the book.
That's right.
And when you buy the book, you can't pass it down. See, that's the idea, is that if I have a reinvented document, I then have you investing in my wealth building. And so I'm telling you that you get an education, but in reality, you are investing in my wealth building opportunity. Therefore, when you say education is warfare within the European context, it is warfare for economics. For us, it is about the warfare of elevating consciousness, right? Wow. How do we get back to that? And so I think that's a critical concern that we have, is that how do we really put education back in perspective so that we are bartering? And the barter system is that there is one who has gone through a process of elevating themselves to then transfer that information to someone else. And then in the bartering, that there is some compensation for that. Now, we used to barter a variety of things, I guess rice and beans for cotton or whatever it is. Now we got to barter based on our reality, some USD, right? But the reality is that the barter system is for the purpose of elevation. But too many times we end up with arrogant individuals in education systems who bought into the European system and see themselves as simply being purveyors of knowledge, information, and content. In reality, they never elevate consciousness, right? And so when you can, so I'm here at Grambling. I had some issues last semester with students investing more time in cheating than gaining the information, the content. Because in their minds, if I can just get the information, the content, I can transmit it into something else that can generate material. But the real issue is, can you think for yourself? And that's what you're saying. Can you think? Can you build? Can you create?
Right.
No, I just know what was in the book. I got the grade, I got the A, I got the B, and that was it. And so we are missing out on that. And so we follow so much of the European way of education. But when you mentioned communiversities, and you also was mentioned earlier was about the Ministry of Education and what it's designed to do. That's who we are. That's what we're all about. And that is what is missing from our school systems. And so my quick thought was this, is that I get on fire. Y'all have me listening all the time. I was on fire. I was on the roll. And Jahi
that's by design. So when you get on, you just be like,
that's right. That's right. That's right.
And Jahi was talking about 30, 40 minutes on the front side and gave us 5 minutes backside. So the idea is that we have in our school systems, right, we have a very systematic Europeanized system of education that we become more unlike ourselves as people of African descent and more like Europeans, because the way that they teach, for them, it is about transmitting their cultural knowledge. Right. And so we learn to become unlike ourselves, and we believe that everything like us is wrong. We never even think about the fact that we can only learn European languages in our school systems. Right. So you can learn French, you can learn Spanish, and you can learn German. It is very rare. Some schools like Howard often will offer Swahili, which is a combination of Arabic language and a Bantu language. And maybe sometimes they have Yoruba if they're taking a trip. But we never learn our language system, right? And so if we learn our language system, we understand the way we think, why we think the way we think. We never think to take the educators that are in our schools that may teach business, and students say that I can understand so-and-so. Well, what if we retool them to teach even the language from where they're from, Igbo language, Yoruba language, right? What if we even taught that? And then inside of that would be the ethics, the morals, the values, because the language contains all of that, right? To say Assalamu alaikum is one thing, right? To say Share Lafiani among the Yoruba says, how are things with you in the universe? Ubuntu among the Zulu, they say Sawubona, which means, do you have a presence, or I see you. So all of these languages give us this idea of moral consciousness that doesn't exist within the Western context, which it says, you can say, how are you doing? Fine, and you? And people can say that without even thinking about what they really ask. Really mean that you want to know how am I doing? No, really, you don't care. You just simply doing it as a courtesy to get through the moment. So the reality is that we have these opportunities in institutions, but we don't, because we are so focused on being more European, unlike ourselves, than actually getting into an alignment with who we are and return education back to its true meaning, which is elevation of consciousness. And so there's consciousness in business, in medicine, in teaching other people, in law, that's not there. So anyway, that was my thinking, Sister Samia, as you were talking about the transmission of having generations go through Morehouse, and Sister Sandy talking about the healing of our people, and Sister Shireen talking about the business of education. So I'm done. That was it.
Okay, so I want to jump in because I know everybody want to jump in. So let me get my little piece in, Sister Shireen, and I'm gonna let you and Sister Samia have it because you all are the educators here. I just want to touch on just the last little piece that Dr. Washington just mentioned about the system, our language system. And Sister Samia was talking about giving us a quote from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan earlier about formulae, and they seem to be in essence basically the same thing. As Sister Samia gave us the definition of formulae, and I just quickly pulled up the definition of system, which is a set of things working together as part of a mechanism or an interconnecting network. And you are absolutely correct, Dr. Washington. That is what we are not taught. That is the warfare. That is a piece of the warfare that we have been systematically taught inside of their system. There is no unity for us. We are taught to go at
Right.
each other inside of their system based on how well each one of us can adapt to their system. And if we can adapt to their system very easily, then we go up to the top. And basically what it is how much memorization, because that's not natural for us. So I just want to just put in that little piece, maybe throw that in the pot for conversation as you educators are talking about this this phenomenal subject about, you know, the differences that are in our educational system. Okay, so I'm done.
So Sandy, hold on, wait. You said something that was very
I
powerful.
wanted to,
You said,
can
I know others are going to talk. I just want to say this. You said that this is very powerful. You said that we learn to attack each other inside of their system.
Yes.
This came to me. We learn to attack ourselves first, because their system teaches us of our inferiority. So we only do externally what it is that has already been done to us internally.
That's right.
And so their system teaches us that we are inferior, that we are lesser, that we have no worth and value. And so as a result of that, I have to attack that which is outside of me, because we understand you make a sheepdog by making it suckle at the breast of the sheep. And that sheepdog grows up and believes that it is a sheep, and it will use all of his dog instincts to protect that sheep. So much so that you put it on mother and opinion with it, it will attack and kill her. But the worst part about this is that you could put a mirror in front of that sheepdog,
and they'll attack themselves.
Right? And so what you presented was very deep, is how we can become conditioned to assault ourselves, because the content never affirms our worth, our value, and our essence in the world. And therefore, nothing around us has any value. So if I ain't nothing, you ain't nothing.
So ergo, Sister Samia and Dr. Washington, Sister Shireen, it basically means that we just got to get our own land. We got to have our own system. We cannot be who we have been created to be inside of this system. I'm just saying, that's what it sounds like to me.
Right. One of the things that we do in our class is I don't allow students to show anybody else their test score. Like, I gave that to you, that's yours. Well, I got 100 and you got a 40. If you got 100 and the brother next to you got a 40, then you should be helping the brother sitting next to you to figure out, number one, did he study? If he didn't study, then you and him can partner and study together. And if he's having a problem, see if you can help him to come, because we got to come up together. There's no such thing as I am the best student and everybody else is. We don't play that. So I had a sister who came, and she was very competitive, it was all about her. And I had to show her, no, ma'am, it's not all about you. It's about all of us. So yes, you did great, but your sister, you did not. So can you help her? Go figure out, can you two figure out what she is missing? So they've begun to understand that it's not about that grade. It's, if I ask you 6 months from now, can you still remember the words that you supposedly studied? Can you do this mathematical problem? And I always tell them, you know, they want to rush and get the answer, because that's what this is all about in the video games and everything they do is I got to get the answer. So I'll Google it. No. Can you sit still long enough to learn this methodology? Because I always tell them the numbers are going to change, but the method that you need to use to solve this problem is not going to change. So I need you to get the method. So what we're, like you said, what is happening is we are being competitive. Well, I got 100 and I'm okay. So what now? What can you do with what you just did, what you got? And did you get that 100 because you crammed last night, or did you get that 100 because you really understand now how to teach? Because I always tell them, you know how you know that you know something? When you can turn around and teach it to somebody else. Because in order to teach to somebody else, you really have to understand what you know. So yeah, I just wanted to. We are all on this together in the same vein, because that's exactly what the problem is.
As you were sharing, Sister Mia, I think about one of the worst activities that my students in college find for them to engage in is a team activity. I don't call it group. I call it a team activity. And the first thing they say is, yes, I don't have to work in no group. I said, hold on, it's not a group. I mean, it's not a group activity. It's a team activity. That is, that every particular person has a role to play in the team, facilitating the final product. and they get it. I'd rather do it by myself. Well, that is a very Western notion. What you have is a very indigenous way of teaching. That is that do we understand what's happening? Not do I get it, but do we understand? You said, can you help somebody else elevate their school, because your value and worth in the world is predicated on somebody else's existence, right? And so here's what I mean by that. I ask the students, if they're in the classroom and I'm not there, are they really students? And they say yes. It's not even possible,
right?
Because there is no teacher in the room. If I walk into the room and they are not there, I'm not a teacher. I'm just a person in the room.
Right.
My position is determined by relationship, right? And so students all the time say, I don't want to work with anybody. Well, everything that we do relies on someone else's existence. So if you can't get it in school systems, you can't do anything. So even if you break it down and say that the fact that you exist is based on two people coming together to create another reality. Right? And so there's nothing that you never do that is about you. Even on your day of expiration, right? Called a funeral, you had to have people to carry you into a space. So you will always need other people. Right. And so when you think about it that way, then it moves from the Western idea, and it says, how do I build morality, character, communalism, right? Because that's how I'm sustained. I'm not sustained by myself. And so I think that is what's missing. So that's why you talk about the book price and everything else is about how much money can I make? Clown, if I don't buy the book, you don't make no money. Right? And so our students need to understand the idea of the community, as Dr. Iqbal wrote some time ago, the community of self, or the Zulu call it Ubuntu, that your humanity is tied to my humanity, that we can only be human together.
Wow.
Okay, I'm excited. Sister Shereen, I know you, I'm gonna be quiet and let you talk for a second, but I'm just so excited about this conversation.
No, I'm actually like just getting the minister's words on the ministry of education, not just the ministry of education, but the purpose of education. So I just wanted to share with us what the minister says about the ministry of education, or the purpose.
Beautiful.
Of course, Brother Jahi read this definition of the ministry of education, which is responsible for mental and moral development of members of the society by means of formal instruction in a prescribed manner over a prescribed period of time in a system of learning ranging from preschool through primary through advanced academic levels, culminating in the conferring of academic degrees under the direction of a national board of education. And I'm reading now for myself, that board regulates. That board would should ensure that education is being implemented properly. Then it goes on to read, in addition to academic instruction, students shall receive teaching and training in the way of righteous conduct, decency, and self-respect, with the goal of making a better nation of God's, right? So now, when you get into the definition of, or what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan refers to as the purpose of education, and this is what we're talking about. It is supposed to be the proper cultivation of the gifts and talents of the individual through acquisition of knowledge. Knowledge satisfies our natural thirst for gaining that which will make us one with our Maker. So true education cultivates the person, mind, body, and spirit by bringing us closer to fulfilling our purpose for being, which is to reflect Allah God. This, and then, he goes on to give a second purpose for education after self cultivation is to teach us how to give proper service to self, family, community, nation, and then the world. So to me, as I heard you all speaking, this what was resonating in my mind. Um, this speech that the minister gave to us back in, believe it was in 2011, about the purpose of education. So when you asked Sister Sandy what was my motivation, you know, he had been during this time, 2009. I believe it was in 2009 that it must have started around then, because that's where I started writing about this agriculture and stuff like that, was when he started going on tour speaking about education, visiting the colleges. Now, this is probably a reiteration, I'm sure, of what the minister's work of when he was going to visit colleges prior, right? I don't think I was around for those visits. So these were the visits that I was around for when he gave these talks, and I sat and took notes when able, or stood post and heard and received um, these messages, and it motivated me as an educator to think a little bit differently about the role that I was playing in education. All praises to Allah. So
Beautiful.
I'm just loving.
Yes.
I'm loving the conversation. I'm loving the the direction that it is encouraging educators to go into. Put our focus more on cultivating, for the purpose of Sister Samir talked about. If you know how you know something is not because you passed the test, but if you're able to teach someone else. I'm paraphrasing, but something like what she said. And the thought that comes to my mind with that statement is also that you're able to do something with it. That there is a valuable product at the end of your implementation, because we have to get out of just being informants, just having knowledge for the sake of, now I can tell you, I can inform you. That's great, but what is greater is that I can produce from that which I know, and then I become knowledgeable, where I'm able to do something with the information that I have that is for the betterment of myself, my family, and my people, primarily.
So, Sister Samia, thank you so much. That is the medicine, that is the elixir that the minister shares with us, and I want to share some of the toxins, right? That is combating. In 2005, William Bennett, who was then the Secretary of Education in the United States, stated that if you want to avoid crime or reduce crime now, abort Black babies.
Right.
Right. So he is the Secretary of Education. We talk the Minister of Education, right? We talk about the Minister. He's the Secretary of Education in this country, which means then that, as you said earlier, education for them is a method of war and destruction of the capacity of righteousness within other people, right? So we were the all-out, again, the open enemy, as Elijah Muhammad states. We the open enemy of their, but vice versa, we open enemies. We got to deal with the fact that for them it is about warfare. Right. My daughters learned in Florida less than 5 years ago about the inferiority of people of African descent, how the pyramids were built by aliens, how Adolf Hitler didn't go into Africa selling things of nothing of value and worth in Africa, and how slavery was a benefit to African people. This is what she learned a few years ago in middle school. The issue is that she could text me and have say LOL and say, "Dad, listen to this," and LOL laugh at it, is because there was something in her system, her consciousness already, that was antithetical to what they were teaching her. But how many children didn't have an inoculation?
That's right.
To inoculate them from that particular madness. So the reason we're having the conversation is because we are having to combat the toxins of Western educational systems. So you're saying what it really is is this. Well, that's what it means to us, and it makes sense to us. For them, it is a method of manipulation, control, violation of humanity, and elevation of their economic wealth in this space. For us, right, it's about something much greater than that, because we understand that the money does not last long. As a matter of fact, my grandmother said, a fool and his money will soon depart, right? So yes, the issue is that we were clear, right, and we have to understand that many times we have solid ideas and foundation and philosophical underpinnings for how we do what we do, and also be able to identify the enemy, because several things happen in this conversation for me, and I'm closing. I'm quiet on this one. That you said to Samia, the idea of teaching. One who learns teaches, and one who teaches learns, right? And then there's another proverb from Sun Tzu that says that if you don't know yourself and you don't know your enemy, you will be destined for defeat. If you know yourself, but not your enemy, right, you may or may not win. But if you know yourself and your enemy, you will be victorious every time. And our issue is that we start to learn about ourselves, but don't really analyze them. Analyze how they transmit information, analyze what it means for them to do the thing that we think is education. So we at HBCUs, and really sometimes we're not even engaging, most of the time, not education at all, we're engaged in replication of European content, which further alienates our students, our people from ourselves. And so that's why, as you said, Sister Sandy, we need our own. that's my grandmother.
We get a grade on how well we can regurgitate. We get a grade on how well we can regurgitate and put a stamp of an approval on what it is that they say is right or what they say is wrong. You know, I would, when I'm listening to you speak, Dr. Washington, I'm thinking about those who question the relevancy of the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in 2019. Is it still relevant? Should we still have this conversation?
Just read the message to the black man.
It would seem like it was written yesterday.
I'm saying, what is this? Bro, how you knew about this? And it's the same story. Go ahead.
Right. I wanted to read something on history that the Messenger wrote in 1936. Okay. See, we get most of us get to know the first part, but then there's a second part that I ran into recently, and I just wanted to read it if you don't mind, because like you say, it is relevant right now.
That's right.
So he said, of all our studies, history is most attractive and best qualified to reward all our research as it develops the springs and motives of human action and displays the consequences of circumstances which operate most powerfully on the destinies of human beings. It stands true that we, the Lost Foundation of Islam and the Wilderness of North America, have not applied ourselves to the study of history, but rather to the study of folly. We as a people had not applied ourselves to the study of history, but rather to folly. And when efforts were made to this effect, it was to our detriment because we did not know what history was most valuable to aid us in the knowledge of our own nation. Then he goes on to say, the wise man is he who has made a careful study of past events of ancient and modern history. The knowledge of the future is judged by the knowledge of the past. He said, there are some men born with the gift of prophecy, while others are trained into it through an intense study of history. April 2nd, 1936. Don't tell me the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's teaching is not relevant today, because if we begin to study our history as people who were captured and brought here, we would begin to solve almost 99% of what's happening to us today in male and female relationships and educational relationships, because we have to understand what we overcame. We don't even get that part yet.
Yes.
You know, when you talk about a people who with the benefit of their own, not the benefit, who were threatened with death if they shared the same language. if I spoke Igbo and you spoke Igbo and they found out, one of us was going to get killed. Right? So we had to overcome that. Then we end up having to overcome understanding a totally foreign language without benefit of our own language to lean back on and help us to define what's being said to us. We do that. Then we get split up in the sense of, I don't know where my babies are because you took them and sold them. My husband don't know where I am because you wouldn't let us remain married, because all of this is a threat to them, and it still is today. So what's happening in our personal relationships, and then it trickles over to our children, is because we don't understand this part of this history, we treat each other wrong, we treat each other bad, and our children hear us talking about their father ain't no good, your mama ain't no good, and so then we try to then you send them to a teacher who's supposed to give them some academic knowledge. So we really need to study our personal sojourn here in America as it relates to our personal history, and as it relates to how we then can begin to educate our children, because we got to go through all this minutia before we can get to the brain of the child.
That's the basis of Ubuntu psychotherapy. The work I do is about educating ourselves. It's about who we are and how we get.
Kevin, you there?
I think he right. I think he may have gotten a call come through or something, because I seen him touch his phone, and it knocked out his video. Yeah.
Earth to
wow,
Kevin.
what a powerful conversation.
Come back, Kevin.
Yeah, he will, but we can carry on while we're waiting for him to come.
You know what was interesting? Thank you, Sister Samia, for sharing that, because as you said,
what were you reading from?
I've heard the first part. Sister
Ma'am?
Samia,
what were you reading from that the messenger wrote April 2nd, 19?
is my mic on?
From the messenger, it was a letter he sent to the ministers in 1936.
Oh, okay.
It was a letter that he sent to his ministers in 1936. I'm sorry. And that's what he was saying to them, that, I thought the key part was that some men are born with prophecy, but you can gain the prophecy by studying the history. And that's what we need to understand more so on our personal interactions, because I'm hearing and seeing things in the classroom that are very disturbing by the way we think about each other as husband and wife and parents, especially those parents who are split up and so you're getting this very toxic environment walked into your classroom, because that's what they're coming out. These are the homes they're coming out of. And if we don't stop and think about that, we're going to continue to follow the methodology that has destroyed us all these years. So we have to really educate ourselves to who we are, how we got here. One of this is how we got here. It's his fault, it's her fault. No, let's look at all of the elements went into making us other than ourselves. And then once we get that, then we can truly begin the process of educating ourselves and our children to be the best God person they can be. So, I mean, I just thought this whole thing on history is just so important, because if we don't have that, then we're just kind of blowing in the wind, unattached.
Yeah, we keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again.
Exactly.
Not knowing that.
He used to say this to my children. He used to say all the time. He said, make different mistakes than I made. Learn from the ones I did, so you can make a different mistake. Don't go make the same mistake I made.
Right.
So that takes being honest enough with ourselves and our children to say, hey, mommy's not perfect, daddy's not perfect. We all made mistakes, but this is what I did to overcome this. So I need you not to walk down that road.
That makes me reiterates the importance of self-improvement, the basis for community development.
Yeah.
Self-improvement. So as you're talking about, we take a look, and what Brother Kevin brought out, we're taking a look at self. So as quoted from Sun Tzu, that does not know himself nor his enemy is doomed for failure.
Right.
So first thing, that's what we're taught, right? The knowledge of self, the knowledge of God, and the knowledge
of our enemy. Right. Right. And that's so important, for us to if we're really going to educate children, it's going to take a big sacrifice on our part, and it's going to take investment of time, and that's one of the things that's not happening. We are so busy rushing around from point A to point B to point C, to the point where many of us, I've seen it a time and again, children being left a half a block behind the parent because the parent's busy on their phone, texting, talking, or whatever. The child is half a block behind you. Because what's bothering me, y'all, is to keep reading about 3 and 4 year olds missing.
Yes.
Excuse me. What were you doing that you lost a 2-year-old or 3-year-old? Who wasn't focused on this child? I was telling somebody when my children, I had at one point in time 5 children that were all, I think the oldest might have been 10. And I had them, 1, 2 were holding on to each pocket. The other one had the other one's hand. I had a baby in my arm because I'm not letting anybody out of my sight while we cross this street. But I had we have to get back to making our children our utmost priority. I don't care about any, we got to say this, all this other stuff over here is good, but this is the priority. And I'm going to make the ultimate sacrifice to make sure that this child is safe, number one, and taken care of, and, and taught well, because what's happening, every day you scroll through Facebook, 3-year-old missing, 6-year-old missing. What's going on? Who's not watching the hen house? Who's allowing the wolves to just go in and snatch up our babies? And, we know why they're doing it, but we have to be more vigilant about stopping them from doing it. I had to speak to a man. I was getting ready to get on that plane. I think I was going to Savior's Day. And this man is walking. He's got a 11-year-old and a maybe 4 or 5-year-old with him. The 4 or 5-year-old is like 20 steps behind them. Nobody looked around to see what his child was. So I walked over to him just before he got on the little train to go wherever in the airport. And I said, "Excuse me, sir." I said, "I noticed your son is way behind you." I said, "Would you please grab him by the hand and keep him next to you, even if he's got a hold onto your pocket?" I said, "Because they are snatching children. And I don't want to read about your child tonight that some little boy was snatched in the Atlanta airport and they can't find him." I said, "So please hold on to this child." And he thanked me. He didn't go mind your business, but that to me, that's my business, to see a child just being not taken care of. So we all have to become that village once again and remind people, excuse me, we're going to kind of hold on to that child because it's too much of it. It's too many babies that are missing. There's thousands of them that are just being snatched up because we're not focused on the right thing, which is taking this child from point A to point B safely.
So 2 things for you, Sister Samia, as we begin to close out for tonight. Number 1, please give contact information for those who are interested in Muhammad University of Islam Atlanta School, what you got coming up, contact information. And as we close out, if you don't mind sharing 3 or 4 points with the listening audience of things that you would like to see us beginning to do, those of us who are old enough to affect this change, begin to do to help cultivate our youth better. You're in a very unique position to see, and you share some things, but if you can put that in a 1 to 3 step formula for us, I would like to see you all do A, B, C, D in order to help cultivate our youth.
Number 1 and foremost is stop being afraid of our children. We have to stop seeing our children as somebody else's problem or something else. They are us, and we have to not be afraid to say, "Hey, come here. Let me talk to you for a minute." I'll be walking behind young people and see them drop trash on the ground. Say, "Excuse me, you dropped something. The garbage can's right there." We don't do that anymore. We're afraid to engage our children and just talk to them and encourage them to do better. That's the first thing. Number two, I would think that we have to put our cell phones down and put them away and engage our children. Number one, no cell phones when the child comes in the house that's under the age of 15, 16. Why, if I gave you this phone to be in contact with me and we're in the house, you don't need the phone. Check the phone in this box. I'll give it back to you in the morning, and make our children detach from all this electronic interference, because that's what it is. It's interference in your thinking, in your day. The other part, I would say, as parents, as guardians, we need to sit down together back around the table and eat. And that may sound simplistic, but when you make everybody come to the table together and you say, well, we have all of this to do, then okay, let's do less of some of that other stuff. Because some of us have our children constantly from day to day to day to day doing 15,000 things, and we don't talk to them. So we don't understand what they're really going through. That child may hate that ballet lesson that you keep sending them to, but he's not going to tell, or he or she's not going to tell you that because they don't want to get in trouble, but they don't like going to. But if you sit them around the table, at least if you can't do it every night, at least 3-4 times a week, sit down around the table and share a meal that you all prepared together. Those are some of the things that keep my family together. We'll cook together even now. My youngest is 26 now. My oldest is 46. But they'll come together and everybody, what we having for dinner? Okay, let's get it. And everybody will get in the kitchen, and then we'll all sit around the table. And the conversations from the time they were young, we always allow anybody at the table to speak. So we had one little child who he would always start telling these stories that had no end, no plot, we waiting for this tagline, but we humored him enough to let him know that what you say is of value, even though we don't understand what you're talking about, but okay, keep talking, this encourages us, and it gives you as a parent a chance to monitor what's going on, because you get to hear, okay, my teacher said blah, blah, blah. Well, do you think that what your teacher said was correct? Well, can we find, something that would show that what you should be learning is this and this. So that constant conversation, the ability, giving them that ability to express themselves, and then you get to monitor. Okay, this child is usually talkative. This child's not talking. What happened? Then you can come and investigate. Come, let me talk to you. What's going on? Why are you not your normal self? But we don't take the time anymore to stop and be together. So you go to your room, they go to their room, and everybody got everything in their rooms. I don't need to come out. Some of y'all even got children that got refrigerators in their room. Come out, So you see them on their way out the door, maybe, they got their own key. So this family thing has to come back together. And then there are people, well, I'm a single mother, I'm a single parent, whatever. Okay, fine. But you still need to take the time to make that connection with your children. And I have to say this about our single mother, single father people. Look, 2 of y'all made that child, okay? 2 of y'all, and we need to stop putting barriers between us that are ill affecting our children. I'm a single mother and I don't want you talking to him. I'm a single father, I don't want you talking to her. And the child is like, but I'm part of both of y'all, and I need to know, is my hairline going to recede because daddy's received? You know what I'm saying? So those are the three things I would say we need to do to help start to heal our community, so we can begin to better educate them and do business together. Because if we can't talk to each other, we can't communicate with each other, we can't feel empathy for each other, then we can't do business together, because I can't trust you.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. And Muhammad University of Islam, Atlanta?
Yes, at gmail.com. You can send us your information and leave your phone numbers, and we'll get back to you all, because our phone system is kind of crazy and it's not letting us get what we need to get. But yeah, Muhammad, MUI Atlanta at gmail.com. Leave your name, your number, your email, and what the age of your children, and we'll get back to you. We'll give you our information as to what our enrollment process is, and what we expect from you and your children.
Are you available to speak on educational panels and conferences and things of that nature?
Yes, I don't know if they'll want me back though. Because yes, I would do that. They just must warn that I'm not your conventional speaker who's gonna go on with all of the stuff that's being said. We're gonna bring what's real from the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Mrs. Farrakhan. If they don't want that, don't invite me. Because I'm not going to mince words and say, well, I mean, I've done that, and I had to do that in a school setting when I was PA president. I would always tell them that this wise man said this and this wise man said that. They never knew I was talking about the Honorable Mrs. Farrakhan and Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And I tested it out one Savior's Day. The minister said something, and I shared it with this whole group of teachers. And they were like, oh my God, that is so wonderful. They didn't know it came from Honorable Mrs. Farrakhan, but yes. So you got to play that role sometimes, but I would rather I'd rather go in letting them know what we will give you is what the God gave to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and then in turn the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to the Honorable Mrs. Farrakhan, and it works. Period. Absolutely. It works.
Absolutely.
And we're not gonna mince words. We're not gonna tell you, well, yeah, no, and so some of the stuff they might not. I would not mind being on a panel, but they just gotta know they're gonna get the real. They're not gonna get somebody who's going to.
Right. I just know someone that's be watching this podcast will say, hey, we need to bring her in to talk truth. So just let them know so they will know that you are available and willing under the right understanding the conditions that they bring you in on. And we want to thank our special guest tonight, Dr. Kevin Washington. I'm not sure. I know he was still at the office he's at Grambling State University. For those who are watching, you would like to in contact with him. He's the head of the sociology and psychology department at Grambling State University in Grambling, Louisiana. And you can also get his contact information from Muwata Speaks. That's MWATA SPEAKS, MuwataSpeaks.com. His contact information is there. That's his website, Muwata Speaks. And I wanted to close out with him talking about, and very soon we may be seeing him on a roster, or I think he's already done it, on a roster at one of your nearest Muhammad Mosque, one of the Nation of Islam Muhammad Mosque. Dr. Kevin is in the processing class.
Praise be to Allah. Yes.
Praise be to Allah.
In Shreveport, Louisiana. He's going through the processing class.
Great.
And he said they already brought him up on the roster a couple of times. So
good.
Yes, absolutely. So we have friendships in all walks of life. I see that so much with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, that whatever world we are in, if we would just take these principles that they are sharing with us, they have given us,
the formula,
and apply them to whatever world we're in, it'll make us the gods that Master Fard Muhammad came to make us. So that's it for me. Sister Sandy, Sister Shireen, y'all want to close it out? Thank you all so much for joining us. Next week, we have Sister Queen Thais of the Liberated Minds Homeschool Network will be one of our guests next week. There's a big Homeschool Network Expo coming up on July the 15th. So she'll be with us. I'm sorry, July 20th. She'll be here with us on the 15th to give us more information about that. And inshallah, we have Sister Samia back with us again, dropping them with some little known research. She's now the Southern Regional research, because you're on another assignment for the 9 ministries, right?
Exactly.
Monica gave you that assignment to do, so she bringing this stuff. 1936. Thank you for pulling that out. You know, I must say, I'm amazed. Think about this, and I'm really gonna be quiet after this. That what you read from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, I mean, from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that was written in 1936.
Yes.
1936.
Yes.
This is from a man that did not go to fourth grade.
Right. That's right.
Bombs in 1936. 1936, he was 5 years into his studies.
Yes. Yes.
Not even the whole 5 years, like 4.5 years.
Right. Right.
Brother Jahi, that confirms that you do not need, and I'm not saying nobody don't need no education. That's not what I'm saying. But with the right education, that proves our point tonight. With the correct education, you can speak to the professors of their world.
That's right.
That proves our point.
Absolutely. Yeah. So grab your copy of Message of the Black Man, just as Dr. Kevin said. All right.
Yes. And start reading it from the beginning. Don't miss a page. And don't pass a word you don't understand. That's what the messenger taught us.
Absolutely.
Get that dictionary, because you'll be surprised what you find when you look. Like I said, I never would have expected that formula would have started out like that. Yeah.
Beautiful. We have thoroughly been educated tonight.
Praises to Allah.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having us.
No, I'm doing something as usual. I just wanted to share Sister Samir's recommendations to parents. You know, stop being afraid of our children. Talk to them. Redirect them when necessary. It's very important. You know, they're looking for guidance, and they should be looking elsewhere. They should be looking to the wisdom that loves them. You know, put your cell phones down and engage them. So she said, if you have them with a cell phone outside of the home so they can reach you, then when they're home, they no longer need to get in touch with you, right? So they can.
That's right. They can walk.
My granddaughter came without her cell phone this weekend, and she came with things that that she and I can engage in together, books and skates, things like that. Yeah, wonderful. And then sit around the table and talk. I know. It's a little foreign. It's okay. Sit around the table and talk. No television, no cell phone. Just actually get accustomed to listening to each other's voices and what's being said and what's not being said. This is very, very important to the growth and development of our children. It's interesting how we'll maybe talk next week on dealing with children who have not been taught or have not even had the opportunity to practice how to sit still.
That's right.
And so then when they go to school, they're antsy. They're all over the place, and then drugs are being recommended to calm them down. When this is just something that it's a part of conditioning them to know when we're sitting down together, we're talking, and so you're not moving all over the place. So that's my last tidbits to share with you, the tips from Sister Samir. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sister.
All praises to Allah.
Tweeting. She's back there tweeting away all the points. We thank you. We love you. Look forward to taking care of you. May Allah continue to bless you. That's Anisa Muhammad. You can find her books on Amazon.com. She is the author of 4 or 5 that keeps growing. The number of books that she has written. But if you just look up Anisa Muhammad at Amazon.com, you can get a copy of her book. She's been writing for the Final Call since she was 15. She is now, is she a junior already? She's going to be a junior.
She's entering into her junior year.
A junior in college. Actually drove down to Macon to see her there at Juneteenth, and she was there doing her thing, tweeting as usual. Yeah, she's a part of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's Twitter army, and she's doing a magnificent job. We love her, we thank her, we appreciate her, and we pray that you will support her as she continues her studies in journalism. Until next week, may Allah continue to bless you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, family.